Work Together 5-1 has the following directions. Write the answers to the following problems. Your instructor will guide you through the following examples. You are authorized to sign checks for Balsam Lake Accounting. Way to go! You can sign checks. For each of these situations, prepare an appropriate endorsement. Write a blank endorsement, a special endorsement to transfer the check to Kelsey Sather. Write a restrictive endorsement to deposit the check to the account in Balsam Lake Accounting. Record a balance brought forward, record a deposit, and prepare a check stub. Wow, that's a lot of good information. So we're going to start with the first one and work our way through it. Once I get Flash to load. So, an endorsement. Did anyone read 5-1 and know what an endorsement is? It is a signature. Josh is on fire today. Yeah. Anyone ever get a check from your grandma for your birthday before?
Nope.
Okay, so here's what happens. Happy birthday, you get a check from grandma in the mail or somebody. They send you a check. So what happens is, if you go to the bank to cash it, they won't cash it until what? You sign it, and you sign it on the back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, here is my biggest tip for you. Never sign your check until you get to the bank. Because here's why. Let's say, Brandon right here, he writes me a check for $75 because I'm his favorite teacher. So I'm like, all right, cool, I got a check from Brandon for $75. And I get that check, and right away on the back of it, I sign my name. I put it in my pocket.
Lose it, somebody else has it.
Yes. Here's the big thing. If I have it in my pocket and I've already endorsed it, I'm walking around and I drop it and Riley sees it and he picks up that check and he looks on the back of it and that check's already endorsed, Riley can go to the bank and he can cash that check and he can get the $75. Never sign the back of your check until you get to the bank. When you just sign your name on the back, that is called a blank endorsement, meaning anyone else can cash it. So the first type of check stub we're going to do is going to be the blank endorsement. So you're going to go ahead and go right here where it says endorse here. And you're going to go ahead and I think it's just, is it student signature? Signature? Very, very nondescript. Typically what you would do though is you would actually sign your name. But Applia doesn't know what every student's name is in the world. So they just say signature. There, everyone got that one right? Okay. So that's a blank endorsement. It is the most risky and never do it unless you're at the bank. Okay. So we have two more types of endorsements that we're going to take a look at. And the next one we're going to do is going to be a special endorsement. And a special endorsement basically goes through and it is going to transfer the ownership of this check to somebody else. So when I take a look at it like, okay, Brandon wrote me that check for $75, but I already owed that to Dylan. So instead of me going to the bank and getting the $75 in cash and then the next day seeing Dylan and then I give the $75 to Dylan, what I can do is I can go ahead and sign over the rights of that check to Dylan. That means the only person that could cash it then would be Dylan. Sometimes that's also called second party checks. Sometimes you'll be places and they'll say, we will not accept second party checks. So to do an endorsement for a second party, what you have to do is you have to tell them what they want you to do. And we're going to go ahead and pay to the order of, and who do we want to be able to cash this one? According to the directions? Kelsey. So we're going to pay to the order to Kelsey Sather, and then you're going to sign it down below. So in my example here, I would say pay to the order of Dylan, and then I would sign my signature below. Now, when Dylan gets to the bank with this check, though, what does he have to do? He has to sign it as well. Okay, so those are different things. So this is called a special endorsement. Now, the last type of endorsement we're going to do today is going to be called a restrictive endorsement. And this is probably one that you're most familiar with, but don't even realize you're familiar with it. So, go to Don's, buy some groceries. I pay for those groceries with a check. I write out the check for the amount of my groceries, and I have money in my account now, so everything's good. So I give that check to the cashier. what does the cashier do with the check right away? Sarah?
Put it in a machine.
They put it right into the cash register. Have you ever noticed them doing that? There's like a spot and they slide it in there, and then the cashier pushes a couple buttons. And what the cash register does is it prints on the back of the check, deposit to the account of Don's Quality Market, and the probably the account number on the back of the check, because that means before that check can go into the cash drawer, it's been endorsed, and the only thing that can happen with that check is get deposited into that account. If somebody else finds it, nothing else can happen to it. It can only go into it. So when you go shopping, if you see your parents or if you see anyone buying anything with a check, you're going to find that they go through and they put it in the machine, and that machine actually does the endorsements. That's part of their cash register functions. So when we take a look at what is called a restrictive endorsement, the only thing that can happen is it can only do what it says. In our directions, it says we have to make a restrictive endorsement to put it into the account of Balsam Lake. So the very first line is going to say, for deposit only to the account of, then we're going to choose Balsam Lake Accounting, and then we're going to go ahead and have a signature down below. Now, in the case of Don's, they're not going to have a signature, but it's going to put the account number on there. But in our happy accounting land, all of our endorsements will always have our signature on it. So our endorsements start with the easiest one, which is called a blank endorsement, and this will be vocabulary that will be on your test and you will need to know it. Okay? So this is a blank endorsement. Special means we're doing something else with it. Restrictive means you can only do one thing with it, and that means the only thing is go ahead and put it right into that account. Now, hey, look at those check stubs, just like the example I was walking around with. I want to take a moment first to take a look at what information is on a check stub before we actually go through and start filling it in. So, on the left-hand side right here, this is your stub, this is your check. When I take a look at the check stub, in the upper left-hand corner, you'll notice there's a number. That number here correlates with the number of the check. We have information that's listed here. On the very top here, we have the amount of the check that's going to be written in numbers. Here's going to be the date, the 2, and the 4. Now, what I have found is most people typically don't use the 4 part. Businesses should, because the 4 part is going to tell you what the check needs to be journalized as. So, for example, in my business, if I have to pay rent, who I make it out to is not going to be called rent, would you agree? It's going to be the name of the business. And I'm going to call it Business Enterprises. It's going to be who I pay rent to. So the check is actually going to be to Business Enterprises, but the 4 would say rent. It allows you to know how to journalize it. Now we take a look at the rest of our stub here. Balance brought forward, so we always know on every check stub what we have in our account. This would be where we would put in if we have any deposit to our account, a subtotal, other charges like bank fees, a subtotal, amount of check, and balance carried forward. So this will be where we can keep a running track of what is in our account. Always do our check stub before we fill out our check. When we fill out our check, we always start in the upper right-hand corner first with our date. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to fill in the date with the long date. So you'd write it out as November. And then we put in the year. Paid to the order of is going to be who the check is made payable to. This spot right here is going to be where you put the amount of the check in numbers. Right here is going to be where you put the amount of the check in words. And here's the reason why we have to write the amount of the check 2 different ways. One in numbers and one in words. Let's say that I'm going to go ahead and I'm giving Jaden a check for $100. If I don't write it right here in words, is it easy to change the amount of $100 here to $1,000? All they have to do is add a 0, would you agree? Now think about it. When I write the amount of the check right here in words, it's going to say 100. It's not easy to change 100 to 1,000. So that's always why on the check you have it written 2 ways. You're going to write right here in words the amount of the check, and then you have to put your cents on there, and then between where you write it and where it says dollars, you always should draw a line. We can't do that in our happy accounting land in Applia right now, but on a piece of paper you would. And the reason why you want to make sure you put a line there is that way so there's not room for people to write over it. So you want to fill that in. The for part here would be exactly the same information you put there, but that way when people receive it, they should go through and know what it's for. Now, what you need to be aware of is if you are paying, for example, your credit card bill, you should not put your account number right here in the for portion. Should not do it. Why? Are there naughty people out there that would steal your mail? Now, we live in a rural country, rural area. So if you want to mail something, what do? Riley, if you're going to mail a letter to somebody, what do? And then how do they know that you have something in the mailbox? Put the flag up, right? So if I'm a naughty person and I see that, ooh, look at Riley's mailing something, could I go ahead and open up the mailbox and look in there to see what Riley's mailing? Is that illegal for me to do? Yes. You cannot put anything in anyone's mailbox. You can't even say, oh, I'm going to return my movie that I borrowed from you. I'll put it in your mailbox. You can't put anything in anyone else's mailbox. Only the post office can do that. But there are naughty people that would go and see, hey, there's a flag up. If you live in town, don't you clip it to the outside mailbox stuff? Have any town people that have ever done that? So they know to pull it from there? But anyway, people can walk by and say, ooh, look, they're mailing something to Citibank. What's on that information? Your credit card. So you should not put that on there. That is why a lot of people will make sure that they put it into the secure drop mailbox, like those big blue boxes, because that way they know nobody else can get into there. So never put your account number on there in case your check gets separated from the statement. They'll be able to get, again, more credit card information from you. So that's the joy of a check stub. Let's fill it out. So the very first thing we have to do is record the balance brought forward on check stub number 78 as of $1,805.75. So I typed it in as 1805 and then I just did 0.75. It put the comma in there for me. Okay, so again, I'm right here in my check stub and I just put in the balance brought forward. Now my next set of directions, instruction number 3 says, record a deposit of $489 made on October 30th of the current year on check stub number 78. Remember, our check stub is always going to give us a running balance of what we have. So right here, I'm going to put in the date of October 30th. Right there, I'll use numbers. And then I'm putting in the amount of this check of $489. Now, I am making a deposit. So is the balance of my account going up or down? Up. So I need to add. So I'm going to take $1,805.75 and I'm going to add $489. And when I do that, my new number goes here. Does anyone have that number for me? There's a calculator on your computer. Riley, did you get it? 2,000 what?
2,296.
I don't agree. Isn't it $2,294.75?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You were close, off $2. Now, here's the thing. This will kick your butt. And it's going to kick accounting 2's butt. Because if I would have put 6 there, every check stub after that would have been wrong. So that's why every month, this would have been a spot where we would have made a mistake and it would have taken us a little bit of work to find it. We could have, but that's why I always go through and do the math twice to make sure I get the same number twice. Okay, so this is how you record a deposit on a check stub. Do I write out a check? The only thing I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, my business is doing well. I put money into my bank account. I need my check stub to be updated so I know what my current balance is in my account, and I add it on there. Now we operate for a couple days, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? I have to go through and write a check number 78 to Corner Garage for some supplies. When we fill out a check, we do our stub first, then we go to our check. So let's fill out the check stub first. Again, check number 78 is going to the Corner Garage for $162. So I put the amount of the check in numbers in the upper portion of the stub. The date is going to be October 30th, and that was given to us in the directions. And it's going to the Corner Garage, and it's for repairs. Now, we don't know anything about other things for our bank account, so I'm going to leave this blank, and I'm going to go ahead and just carry my subtotal down to my new subtotal. Now, this area right here is used when the bank charges me a fee, or maybe they give me interest. So anything else that would happen besides a deposit that the bank does to my account would be filled in here. But I don't have any information about it, so again, I just carry this number down. Now, it's really easy to make a mistake when I enter in this number down here. Instead of typing 200 or 2,294, I could type in 2,249. Same numbers, but switch the order. So slow down to make sure that you have it right in there. Now, the next spot says the amount of this check. And Jaden, how much are we writing this check out for? Okay, 162. So I'm going to put that in there. Now, I'm writing out a check for $162. So do I add or subtract? Do I have more money in my account or less money in my account, Cody? Less. So I'm going to take that $2,294.75. I'm going to subtract 162, and I'm going to get what, Justin? Did you get the math for me yet? Okay. Do you agree? And 75 cents, right? So again, right here in class, we're kind of collaborating to see if you got the same number. It's not cheating. I agree. You might as well make sure, because if you make a mistake, it's going to kick your butt lots of different times. So now, before I fill out my check, I'm going to take this number right here, and it goes right here on my next check stub. Says balance carried forward, so I need to carry it forward. Now, it seems a little really strange right here to carry it forward. What did I do with my little check? But when you look at your checkbook like this, it's laid out in this portion, and each check is really its own page. So that's going to be how it would carry it forward to the next spot for you to be able to see. Now, we fill out our check stub, fill out our check. Start in the date in the upper right-hand corner. The date is October 30th. You normally would fill in the year, but not in Applia's case. The check is being made payable to the Corner Garage for $162. We have to write in 162 and no cents in words. And again, if I was writing it, I would do a little curly Q right here between my last word and the word dollars. The for part is going to be repairs, and then you get to sign it. And that's your first check. We are going to repeat that same process for check 79 for St. Croix supplies for $92. Always start on your stub first. 92. The date is October 30th. It's being made payable to St. Croix Supply, and it's for supplies. Now, do we have any information about a deposit? Bryce, did you see anything in directions for deposit? Okay, so there isn't anything. So all I have to do is carry the amount down to the next subtotal amount. Bryce, did you see anything about other charges? No. Nope, carry it down again. If you leave it blank, Applia will mark it wrong. So make sure that you carry those numbers down. The amount of this check is $92. So we had a previous balance of $2,132.75. We're writing this check out for $92, so I have to subtract $92, and we should have $2,040.75. Did anyone else get that? Or am I too fast? Slow down, Grassel. Did you get that amount, Brandon? You don't know, you're not there. You got that amount? Okay. So we do the amount of the check stub. Now we go over here and do our check. Then you can go ahead and click on check answer. I got it perfect. Anyone else get it perfect? Whoop. Love it, love it. All right. So we don't have a ton of time left because I gave a little bit longer instruction period. So what I'm going to do is you don't have to do the on your own.